Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. With special thanks to Revenant, Anerdinwarpaint, Antonio Hernandez, Dragon Matrix 7, Exsellsior, Lima, Nathan Welch Jr., and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to the Wrath of the Righteous beta, as we tie up a few last loose ends before we get this show on the road. That said, we do still have some general conversations we need to get through, some quest setup and plot hooks, but it's just a few folks left on the list, so let's see if we can jam through this in about, let's say, 20 minutes. I think that's a pretty good guesstimate. Let's do this. Anivia sweeps an inquisitive glance over you. So, tell me straight, how'd that brawl at the Great Garrison end? I heard the rumors, of course. That's kind of my job, you know, to listen. You've no idea what cobblers the Crusaders say about you. Some say that Iomedae came to you and appointed you her herald. Others say that you died, and an honest-to-God angel is now leading the army disguised as you. Still others say it was just an explosion at an alchemist's lab, and I'm the one spreading rumors about your powers. I wish. But you know, you really have changed since the Grey Garrison. It's hard to describe, but you've become kinda... Anivia waves her hands, trying to find the word. Stronger? More dangerous. I have a gut instinct about these things. If I didn't, I'd already be dead. You're dangerous, Commander, and by Desna, I hope you'll be dangerous to our enemies, and not to us. Or to yourself. And I guess that is all she has to say about that. Short and to the point, I can appreciate that. I do like how they wrote a lot of these characters with fairly varied personalities. Let's see what her other half has to say about all this. Commander, allow me to say something. Irabeth looks even more serious than usual. Before you, this wasn't a war. It was agony, drawn out over decades. No one believed in victory anymore. When the demons attacked the city, for some it was a relief. At least the end had come. They laid down their weapons and surrendered without a fight. I felt the same thing, but I somehow got through on stubbornness and the vague hope that if nobody found Anivia's body, she might by some miracle have survived. And that miracle was you. You returned my beloved to me, when I'd nearly lost all hope of seeing her alive again. Then you went on a suicide mission to the Grey Garrison and won the city back for us. You turned a defeat into a victory. I know it wasn't easy, but you make everything seem so effortless. You do everything just like that, she says with a snap of her fingers. The Queen believes in your powers too, but for me, they're just more proof of what I felt that day when I saw Anivia alive, standing next to you. You're the miracle we've been waiting for. You're the one who will finally put an end to this terrible war. And, in spite of everything, deliver us the victory we so desperately need. With you, I'm sure this crusade will achieve what the others could not. Wow, so a starkly different take from Anivia's. You know, I found a scabbard with your family name on it in the Grey Garrison. Irabeth looks down. This scabbard held the solemn hour, my family sword. My father once fought with it, and I took it when I left home to become a paladin. Alas, it was not stolen. I parted with my heirloom willingly, to help someone dear to me. Anivia needed expensive healing, and having no other way to procure the money, I pawned my father's sword. I think he would have understood. I'm sure he would have given up everything to help the family. I hoped to redeem the solemn hour eventually, but there was never enough money, and soon the sword disappeared from the pawn shop altogether. I have no idea who took it. Seems like I'll have to part with my father's sword forever. Well, I sincerely doubt that. Is Anivia sick? You'll forgive me if I don't go into detail. It is a private matter. Suffice to say, everything is fine now. The treatment was costly, but it was worth it. I can see that you truly love her. A delicate blush appears on Irabeth's cheeks. She nods silently. Irabeth lovingly traces the name imprinted in silver on the scabbard's leather. My parents were loyal servants, yet it wasn't enough to earn them a title or a coat of arms. Still, however humble our names might be, it is worth something. I don't know if I'll ever see the solemn hour again, but at least I have its scabbard back. Thank you. It's hard to believe your origin is so humble. You deserve a noble title more than many who inherit them. Irabeth's cheeks blush a little. Thank you, Commander. It is an honor to hear that, especially from you. Every noble family begins somewhere. You must have heard the recent story from the Stolen Lands and the River Kingdoms. Just imagine coming from nowhere and making it all the way to a royal crown in just a few years. Ah, yes, the story of the legendary potion smith, Goldleaf the Elf. I know it well. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I managed to distinguish myself somehow. But then I'd push away such unworthy, selfish thoughts, of course. We don't fight for rewards. The fate of the world is at stake. And yet... Irabeth's blush deepens, and she falls silent. So, it turns out that the Queen has the head of her counterintelligence watching me. Should I be flattered? You think the Queen doesn't trust you? If that were true, she wouldn't have put you in charge of this army. My main task is to be your advisor until you've gained enough experience as a commander. As for counterintelligence, Anivia and I were tasked with keeping an eye on your inner circle. But you're not under suspicion, Commander. You're under our protection. And you're doing just a bang-up job with that. I do appreciate it. Irabeth says goodbye with a short bow. It is very intriguing to contrast their very different personalities. Irabeth with her rigid but hopeful demeanor, and then Anivia with her flippant but much more inherently suspicious attitude. They balance each other out quite nicely. Woljif gives you a friendly wave. Hey, Chief. Want to talk? Woljif, what do you think of my new powers? Woljif pauses to think, rubbing his chin. You mean what you did back there? I have a few ideas. We could send you to a Patax underground arena to fight. Give you a scary name like Swift Sting or something like that. Give you a great cover story. Enemies burn down your house, you're avenging your dead family. The public eats that stuff up. You'll wear a shiny, eye-catching outfit. Or a black one, if you like black better. We'll split the prize money 60-40. 60 for me, of course. You know, arranging fights isn't easy. Those people are tough. I'll be taking more risk than you. And after we get set up in Patax, we'll tour different cities. Make some real money. What, you don't like the sound of it? You know what, that actually does sound appealing, but we might have slightly more important things on our plate right now. Maybe later. What else you got for me? Woljif grins, his yellow eyes lighting up. I got one more. Have you heard of Razmiran? It's some land in the River Kingdom ruled by a King Razmir. A friend of mine used to live in Razmiran. He got out of there as fast as he could. Long story short, this King Razmir of theirs is a god. He keeps his people under his heel. They're all terrified of what he might do. He sits on his throne wearing some white mask, giving power to anyone. "Come and take power from me," he says, "so long as you believe in me." Waljeff quickly checks that no one is eavesdropping. But that friend of mine, the one who fled, has a half-sister on his old man's side who's a cook in the castle, and a washerwoman who the cook plays cards with in the evenings, told her a juicy rumor. Word is, Razmir isn't a god at all, and he's got no powers. So here's my point. You do have powers. Pretty scary ones, too. We'll find some shabby little kingdom, I'll start some rumors, you'll show off a few tricks to wow the locals, and that's it. We'll make you a deity. But first, I want you to put it in writing that I'll be your chief advisor. I'm not doing anything just on the nod. I've been there. People promise you a mountain of gold, and then when it comes to it, they're all, "Get lost," or "I'll set the dogs on you." So, do you like the idea? You know what? That one might be slightly more problematic, but I can see the appeal. But let's stay focused on our current goals. It's an interesting idea, but I'll need to think about it. Sure thing. Think about it. Just call me if you need me. We'll discuss it. Well, Waljeff, it has been real. Thank you for your time. Such an incorrigible rapscallion. I can't imagine why the Queen wants her people keeping an eye on my followers. And speaking of followers, let's have a chat with one of the ones she assigned to us. Nurah-tick. Knight Commander, how can I help? There is much I can do. Just ask. Nurah looks at you with eyes filled with enthusiasm. She's holding a notebook and a traveler's inkwell. You've probably heard about the wound I have, the one that sometimes opens on my chest. Can you perhaps tell me if it's some kind of demonic curse? Yes, indeed. I've been told of your affliction. Nurah peers at the center of your chest. Can you will the wound to open? No? That's a shame. What can you tell me about this wound? Well, it's difficult to say. I know of blades that leave never-healing cuts, of poisons that stop wounds from healing. I've heard of witches' curses that are rewarded with eternal wounds, but wounds that seem to reopen and heal over and over. Perhaps you know of other cases like this? Let's think. In 4671, a Mendevian army corporal had all of his bones and cartilage turned to glass. In 4700, a scribe in Canabras had all her skin simply come away like she'd been boiled. And in 4638... Oh, you don't happen to have insects crawling all over you? Locusts? No? Rats, perhaps? Too bad. Nurah looks at you with genuine regret. Nurah, that is... Do you think it's dangerous? It most likely is dangerous, but you are under the protection of Iomedae, Commander. She granted you mythic power, as they say. Surely the Inheritor would not leave you to face this alone. Have you perhaps noticed that the wound opens at moments when you waver in your faith? Perhaps it is triggered by doubt? Frowning, Nurah looks at you with sincere concern. I would actually say it was the exact opposite, that it flares up at moments when we need extreme resolve when faced with name-level threats. Thank you for your answers. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you anything useful. I will be sure to study this matter and consult a few of my encyclopedias. So, tell me about yourself. Oh my, I could tell you so many amazing things, and you chose the most boring one of all. But all right, about myself then. Where are you from? Isker, a small piece of land that proudly calls itself a country, though it hasn't been independent for a single day in all of the centuries it's existed. They have a lot of national pride, but all of it is borrowed, always looking to the great day when they can at last be free from the rule of Cheliax. The Isgari love talking politics. If two of them start bargaining over beets at the market, you can be sure that they'll end up arguing about whether an independent Isker will be a monarchy or a republic. I've always found it funny to listen to, and a little disgusting. You see, there are a lot of us halflings in the country, but very few are citizens. Most are slaves. I was lucky. I've always been clever ever since I was little, so they sent me to school instead of making me do the grunt work. They taught me to count and write, and I was sold as a secretary to Lord Axelar Tresbot. He's the one I left Isger with. Never to return, I hope. I say, how did you come to serve Queen Gelfry? Well, I was the slave of Lord Axelar Tresbot in Isger, my homeland. Oh, what a man he was. He towered over his fellows like a rock over a garbage heap. A true hero. He bought me as a simple secretary, but he made me learn the history of the Worldwound. All of it. One volume after another. He hired tutors for me, even sent me to meet prominent historians. He didn't want a simple slave, but a slave with an impeccable education. Lord Tresbot was going on a crusade. He firmly believed that the servants of the good gods were weak, and only a follower of Asmodeus could stand against the demon invasion. He took me along as his secretary, a historian, and, most importantly, he entrusted me with recording his glorious story for future generations. In his crusade, Lord Tresbot performed many brave feats, but even he could not stand against the Worldwound alone. In his final battle with the demons, when my lord realized he was doomed, his final act was to cover my retreat, so that I could tell the world of his great deeds. Some people have said that what he did was not heroic, just an arrogant moron puffing himself up one last time. But I say curse their tongues. My difficult journey ended in Mendev, where I found my freedom. There I published Lord Tresbot's biography, and I don't want to boast, but who am I kidding? Of course I do. The book sold in great numbers and made me rather famous for a time. That's what brought me to the Queen's attention. She invited me to her court. After all, she was curious to find out about my deceased lord, and she was in great need of an expert on the history of the Worldwound. I hope you'll find me useful as well. So, you're not just a historian, but a writer too? Will you write a book about my crusade? Haha, why not? As soon as we finish off the demons, I'll get right to it. Just take care that you don't end up like Lord Tresbot. Do you, worship any deity? She makes a wry face. When I was a slave in Isger, they would beat me with a stick to force me into believing in Asmodeus. They hit me and said it was for my own good. Ever since then, I don't like temples. I realize there are different gods, like Desna or Caden, who teach goodness and freedom. But it's just, as soon as I smell frankincense, I see the slave driver's stick. Maybe one day I'll be able to turn to a deity without cringing from a blow for not being reverent enough. But for now, I let others pray for me. Nurah's smile trembles and collapses. Nurah wanted to add something, but decided to let the painful subject drop. Interesting, and that was on a failed perception check. Great, which we rolled a natural 1 on. Well, crits happen. Thank you for your answers. You're welcome, but you should really ask me about something more interesting. Which I suppose would be the history of the Worldwound. And I'll be blunt here. We're mostly going to skip this stuff. It does give a lot of interesting baseline information for the setting that we're essentially walking into. But this is mostly stuff you can find over on the Pathfinder wiki if you really want to read up on the Worldwound and the history of the previous 4 Crusades. I will note, they did make a few tweaks here and there. They altered a few things to retroactively fit the new continuity they've created for the video game adaptation. But that's all stuff that we'll naturally encounter as we progress through the campaign, so I'm not too worried about it right now. Without a shadow of a doubt, expecting nothing in return, the life and feats of Lord Axelar Tresbot, by Nurah-tick. Nerosian Cruciform Cathedral Publishing House. Frowning, Lord Tresbot made a gesture for his people to halt. Everyone froze. No one dared to disobey his order, even one given with his eyes alone. Lord Tresbot loved to say that he could only win when his whip frightened his soldiers more than the demon's claws, and he succeeded like no other in enforcing discipline. The Lord approached what we took for a scarecrow from afar, left in the middle of the wasteland by an unknown farmer. Pricking it with his sword, the Lord made us a sign to approach. It was the body of a young crusader, a boy, not 20 years old, horribly broken, disemboweled, with shards of bone sticking out and shreds of skin dangling in the wind. Horror watched us from the stake, eye sockets filled with worms. A contemptuous smirk crossed the Lord's face. "Coward," he said through his teeth. "Fled from the battle. The demons caught him and he surrendered without a fight. And here are his useless fellows." The Lord kicked an inconspicuous bump under his feet, and it rolled, revealing an open helmet's visor with greenish-gray mush inside, swarming with insects. We shivered and looked down, realizing the ground underneath our feet was a mix of shards of metal and pieces of flesh. "Cowards," the Lord said again. "Cowards and weaklings. They were doomed even before they approached the Worldwound. They should never have left their comfortable homes. What did they achieve? They delivered the demons a hot lunch, that's all. Let's go. While the slugs waste their useless lives, someone has to win this ridiculous war." Without turning away or heeding the disgusting crunching sound underneath his feet, he strode forward. We hurried after him, trying not to step on anything that was until recently a part of someone's body. Well, he does sound like a peach, doesn't he? Such a pity that he's dead. Or is he? Yeah, probably. I do find it interesting how they've gone out of their way to make her very parallel to Lindsay. But obviously the failed perception check and the fact that it told us that it was perfectly normal and there was nothing to be suspicious about does seem inherently suspicious. And speaking of inherently suspicious... Born? The elf before you casually rests his bandaged arm on the weapon at his side. He bows his head with dignity. "I congratulate you on your new rank, Commander. My hunt demanded that I travel with your army. Naturally, I wouldn't burden your forces with the need to care for an outsider. I provided myself with all necessities." Uh-huh. "You know, I found Kaylessa spying on my camp." "Then you should be on the lookout for her accomplices. Her demonic masters must have sent her to plot against you. And since she's already made her way into the camp, she will strike soon. I hope you weren't as merciful with her this time." "She left alive and unharmed." A resigned sigh escapes his tightly pressed lips. "Then she has deceived you once more." Again, I really feel like there should have been more potential responses there. But like I said, this is the first iteration of the quest in this build. And this build is a couple of months old, so I'm sure it's already undergone a couple of revisions since then. Anyway, that is everyone on my checklist. There are some other folks we could talk to, a few companions we could stand to catch up with, but nothing that's integral for this first leg of our journey, so we'll hold off on it for now. That said, let's hit the pause button real quick. I'll go make sure that we are fully locked and loaded for what's to come. And we'll be right back as we finally get this show on the road. The commander becomes host to an anomalous force, and his dreams are filled with strange visions. He feels the space around him distort, and his sensory organs are flooded by false images, bred by distortions of light and air. Reality itself tries to expel the commander into some dark tunnel. At the other end, a grim figure awaits. His body resists this crude attempt to wrench it from reality, but the unknown force finds a tangle in the commander's soul, one made of demonic rage and destructive desire. The stranger grabs at it and pulls like a hunter reeling in a harpoon. Troubled by the sudden intrusion, the dark and ominous force deep in the commander's soul answers with a menacing growl. The commander, well, not that, uses every effort to suppress the tangle of rage in his soul, which the mysterious power has latched onto. By force of will, the commander pushes his anger down, as deep in his soul as he can. The attraction rapidly weakens in response, as if the mysterious enemy can no longer sense the commander and concentrate its efforts on him. The apparition recedes, leaving the commander wondering whether it was reality or a nightmare. Very intriguing. And welcome back. Obviously, things went slightly off script while I was taking care of our off-screen bookkeeping, but we're pretty much done with it now. That was just something that occurred whilst I was resting to recover our spell slots. Not quite sure what to make of it, but obviously a very ominous encounter. And one which I suspect would have played out quite differently if we had been feeding that ball of rage. Anyway, we are just about set to leave, so let's go ahead and pop back out to the world map. I think we'll go ahead and keep Social for now. Darren's my boy, but I feel like Social is a bit of a better fit for the party. Not to mention, of course, that once we hit level 7, which is getting pretty close, we can shoehorn another mount into the party if we have him there. And I really do find it appealing to have half the party riding around on giant saber cats. Well, although maybe I'll give him something else. I haven't decided yet. I will look at our options. Anyway, we are well and truly into Act 2. Our current goal is to work our way up to Dresden, which means we need to build a crusade powerful enough to clear a path for us all along the West Selen River. Still not much to work with, but we will see a bit of a snowball effect once we really get things going. Whoops, let's get those two legions combined. I suspect those 4 archers won't have much luck on their own. Yep, not much, but that should be enough to get us started. Onward to battle! Now, right off the bat here, I will stress, this is not the finished Crusade system, but it has shown improvements with each new iteration, and this version is a couple of months old at this point. It is intended, however, to essentially be an abstracted mass battle, with each distinct unit representing dozens or hundreds of men. It's relatively basic, which honestly I think is a good thing at the moment. That way it doesn't distract too much from the actual main game. But it is intriguing, especially once you start unlocking all the variant units, which is very Mythic path dependent. And I think we're done. Very nice. We suffered 3 casualties, but that is within the clinic rating, I believe it's called. Essentially, any losses you suffer beneath a certain amount equal to your clinic or healing rating will automatically be revived at the end of combat. But if you suffer particularly grievous losses, then some of those will be permanent. And I think if you completely lose an entire unit, it will also be lost, so you do still need to be careful. Anyway, you get the idea. It's still pretty basic in Act 2, especially in the beta, but it will grow more complex with the launch build, and especially once you get into Act 3. Having defeated a band of cultists who had made the ruins of Valis' gift their home, the commander's army celebrates its first triumph. Unfortunately, the demon worshippers have killed all the citizens and gathered their belongings into a huge pile in the middle of the camp. That is unfortunate. I suppose someone should really put those resources to good use to honor the memory of the fallen, etc., etc. For we are noble and selfless heroes, probably. Okay, I'm gonna say the flies are probably beyond us for the moment, but let's go ahead and start really stacking our archers. And then we'll grab some more footmen while we're at it. For now, we'll just stick with the Selen River. That's obviously the direction they want us to go in. But if we have time and resources for it, we will double back, just to clear out those branch paths. There's a lot of optional loot and resources to be had, if the player can build up a crusade strong enough to claim them. Which this is definitely not. Yet. Onward, my friends. We'll continue to the north. Oh, right, and then our actual officers as well. Oh, well, okay then.
They will break against our resolve.
Oh, distorted mythic Schir. I'm gonna say that is somewhat unusual. Alright, that's not too bad. I'm gonna say he's got like 80 or 90 more hit points. We've got an Incubus on the south, too. Let's see if we can knock him out. Thank you, Ember. Now we can focus fire. You know, if I can find a nice shield for Sosil, I might just switch him off to Sword and Board.
Time to share your treasures!
They push you towards using the glaive with him, but I'm not sure how practical that is long term.
Make every strike count.
Oh yeah, this guy's a pushover. Ow. You know what? I deserve that. That is what I get for belittling the mythic.
The light take you!
And he's dead. Let us go congregate around the unfortunate incubi. We do want to be careful with this one. He can actually level drain, so we don't want to wake him up prematurely. All right, Social.
Your existence offends the goddess!
Wow. Well, that is one argument for keeping the glaive. That did look pretty cool. Nothing notable as far as loot goes, but we'll top off, then scout for random caches.
Yes. Don't mind me.
And thanks to the extended spell mythic ability, we now have mage armor for the day. That'll be handy while we're exploring. Once we upgrade that ability, we'll be able to use it with a variety of other buffs as well. Shield, blur, enlarge, see invisible. It very much takes a lot of the micromanagement out of buffs, which I very much appreciate. Anyway. Nice. Nothing all that notable, but free stuff is free stuff. Let's see if we can find anything else. Aha! Wand of Ear-Piercing Scream. Not the most useful find, but we'll take it. Ooh. Yeah, generally speaking, you will find 0 to 3 random caches in each random encounter on the world map. You're never going to find anything really fantastic in a random encounter like this, not in the caches anyway. But I think the intent is just to give the player a renewable source of low-end consumables, to encourage them to use them more often. Oh, well, I guess we're doing this now. Hey, Skeletal Salesman, what's up, buddy? I can't remember if we actually made it deep enough into Kingmaker to run into him. A skeleton is walking across the wastes. He moves with pep in his step, humming a tune. His skull bobs in chorus with the humming, making the coins inside his head clink rhythmically. Next to him, nightmarish horses of flame and shadow draw a cart loaded with valuable-looking items. Upon seeing you, the skeleton offers a dramatic and hearty wave. Good evening to you there. Or is this what days look like in your Worldwound? Can't really tell. But no matter. Be it day or night, the skeletal salesman always has the best deals you can find anywhere. He proudly sweeps his bony hand over the goods in his cart. I suppose you have no need of free stone skin scrolls? Pleased with his joke, the skeleton utters a rasping chuckle. Sure, I could use a free scroll. Whatever you wish. The best merchandise for Oriads. Okay, I get it. I get the joke, if you can call it that. Again, I do appreciate the reactivity. Kudos. So, what do you sell? Oh, I have the widest choice of merchandise. Right now, I've got a fine selection of magicianal mysterical spell thingies. Everything a wizard could want. Well, that sounds fantastic. 3 spell thingies, please. By the way, could you advise me on what would sell best in these parts now? I have a choice of exotic wares from faraway lands, then there is the personal protection equipment, and a whole arsenal for a hunter. Noted. Seek me out on the roads with new goods to buy. So, tell me about yourself. I'm a simple man. I keep no secrets. You can see right through me. The skeleton laughs as he knocks on his empty ribcage for emphasis. What would you like to know? How did you, become who, or what you are? Oh, now that's a story and a half. Listen well and don't repeat my mistakes, or you won't be able to live with yourself. Get it? All right, moving on. Once I was just like you, exploring all sorts of ruins and filling my pockets with riches, until I stumbled into a Dracolich's lair. That's one scary beast, let me tell you. A lich and a dragon. And he would have eaten me whole had I not suggested a deal. I would sell off all the blades and armor left by previous adventurers. Surely he didn't have much use for all that equipment, but he could earn a tidy sum of gold. Surprisingly, he agreed, but that didn't save my life. Instead, he just turned me into a walking pile of bones. And what do you know, that was just the beginning of my troubles. For a long time, I wandered the river kingdoms, peddling wares, until I met one devious scoundrel. At first glance, he looked decent enough, decked out in armor, clearly a paladin. He asked me where my master's lair was. Obviously, he wasn't the first to take an interest. But the Dracolich was no slouch. He put an enchantment on me so that I couldn't even remember the lair's location. However, this knight turned out to be quite the wizard, too. I'm no expert in magic, but basically he offered to perform a ritual that would reveal the location of my master's lair. Then he and his pals would kill the Dracolich and give me my freedom, plus half the horde. Sounds like a sweet deal, huh? So I agreed, like a fool. He showed me the contract and it seemed all right to me, so I just signed it right then and there. We conducted the ritual, and the knight found out where my master was hiding, by looking at some astral tracks or whatnot. Long story short, they killed the Dracolich. The knight offered me my half of the treasure as promised, and then, as per the terms of our contract, he demanded payment for the ritual's components, for my freedom, and then there were taxes, excise fees, and fines. Before I knew it, I had to give him all of my loot, and still couldn't even cover my debt. And so he offered me a way to repay it by working as before, for his master this time. Thus, I'm still traveling, peddling, and all that, until I earn every last coin that I owe him. And you know what? To pay off that kind of sum, I'm pretty sure I'll have to keep working for him until Grotus brings the end times. As for the moral, with a professional air, the skeleton holds up one white finger. The moral of my story is this: watch what you sign. That lesson is free. For the rest of what's in this fine cart, you'll have to pay in gold. Who is your new master? Ah, did I tell you the knight looked like a paladin? Well, he wasn't anything of the sort. On the contrary, he was a servant of Mammon, the archdevil of avarice. The skeleton slightly opens his mouth to reveal a single azure coin among the gold. The coin is stamped with the disdainful visage of a devil. That's the one he sold me to, guts and all. Although by then I had no guts, really. Now, at least, if someone asks me where my master's lair is, I can honestly say, Erebus, the third layer of Hell, Palace of the Royal Treasurer. Entrance by appointment only. Do you want me to try to free you from this curse? No thanks. The skeleton waves you away with both hands. Been there, done that. Only made things worse. I've had enough help. I'll make do. Fair enough. And I see we've got a Lich option here. Not one we can actually take for obvious reasons, but that is intriguing. Do you trade with everyone? Crusaders and demon worshippers alike? You bet. What do I care which side of yours is winning anyway? Both are buying my wares. Business is booming. Everybody needs a weapon and a good set of armor. You sell one thing, the next day they bring it back all ragged and full of holes, looking for a replacement. Sure, this war will probably end one day. Maybe the Crusaders will finally patch up that abyssal hole, or maybe this whole region will fall through it. That's when I'll pack up and go elsewhere. Golarion is a big place. I can always find new customers. Well, thank you. Thank you for your answers. That was, refreshingly honest. You're very welcome. Talking is easier than dragging a cart. I can wag my tongue all day for free, even though I don't have one. All right, let's see what you got. The skeleton joyfully rattles the coins in his skull. Here, take a good look. Pick anything you like. Buy all of it. I love that guy. I wish you could recruit him. Who knows, maybe the Lich can. Haramaki +2. That is definitely a mysterical spell thingy. That is, essentially leather armor specifically made for wizards. If they have the appropriate proficiency, they can wear it without having any arcane spell failure chance. The rest of this stuff looks pretty basic, but I definitely see a few items I wouldn't mind having. And you know what? Some of these scrolls might come in handy, too. Yeah, let's make a few purchases here. We'll take those for the future. We'll grab that as a backup, just in case. We'll take that +2 amulet. And we'll take that headband for social. Actually, no, that's too much. We'll hold off on that for now. I'm sure we'll find some anyway. Let's go ahead and get that amulet slotted. And off we go. Actually, I suppose we should do a quick sweep, just in case there are any hidden items. This is a special encounter, after all. We could have tried to attack the poor skeletal salesman, my Skelebro, but obviously the game doesn't really encourage that sort of thing. I don't think Kingmaker had any merchants you could actually kill that would drop their items afterwards. And I'm pretty sure if you attacked the skeletal salesman in the previous game, he would just teleport away, so... all it would really accomplish is depriving you of a potential vendor. Oh. Okay. What in the world? We can see a campfire. I don't know what this is. I have never seen these characters before in my life. My test characters didn't run into them. Huh. You know what? We're at the 50-minute mark, and I have no idea what to expect from this or how long it will take, so I think this makes for a good breaking point. Let's hit the pause button. I'm going to get our buff set up just in case this goes south. And we'll pick up here next time as we find out what the deal with the 3 strangers in the road is. I am very intrigued, and I will not play it in advance. I'll hold off until I'm ready to record. This has to be something new. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official social media feeds, or the official store pages. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things, or maybe even check out the Patreon. Links are in the description.